Okay, let's just jump right in with a big one. Is faith the opposite of doubt? I mean, that's how we usually think about it, right? Like they're two boxers in a ring, battling it out for our hearts and minds. But what if that whole picture is just wrong?
I mean, think about someone like Nelson Mandela. You spend 27 years locked away. Your faith in humanity isn't going to be based on a lack of reasons to doubt people. It's the exact opposite. It's a choice you make despite all the evidence screaming at you to give up. His faith wasn't born because there was no doubt. It was forged in the fire of doubt.
And that idea right there, that's the key to what we're digging into today. We're going to look at faith in a whole new light, not as some kind of bulletproof certainty, but as a powerful form of resilience.
All right, so let's unpack this. You know the common take? Faith is believing in stuff when you have zero evidence. It's basically a blind leap, right? Well, the research we're looking at today, it throws that idea right out the window and gives us something way more interesting and honestly, way more powerful.
And that big idea, it's captured in just 2 words: resilient reliance. Sounds simple, I know, but trust me, this little phrase could completely rewire how you see faith.
Okay, so here's the official breakdown. Faith isn't just about what you believe in your head, it's a disposition. Think of it like a default setting to rely on someone or something to come through for you. And here's the crucial part. It's about having the resilience to keep relying, even when things get rocky. It's about hanging in there.
So let's pull those 2 words apart. You've got reliance on one side. That's the first part. It's the trust. It's you leaning on something. But the magic ingredient, the secret sauce, is the resilience. That's the grit. That's what you do when the person you're relying on lets you down, or when doubt starts whispering in your ear. It's the choice to keep trusting anyway.
And get this, it's not a solo act. Faith needs a partner, and that partner is called faithfulness, or as the theory puts it, resilient reliability. So while faith is about relying on someone else, faithfulness is about being reliable for them, especially when it's tough. They're like a lock and key. You really can't have one without the other.
Okay, I know this all sounds a little academic, right? So let's bring it down to earth. Where does this stuff actually show up in real life? Well, look no further than our relationships.
Just think about a marriage that's gone the distance. The strength of that relationship isn't measured by a lack of arguments or tough times. No way. The strength comes from navigating those stormy seas together. It's about choosing to rely on each other even when it would be easier to walk away.
And when you have that kind of resilient reliance, it creates some amazing things. It builds integrity, sticking to your word. It creates this incredible sense of solidarity, that us against the world feeling. And it gives you stability, a rock-solid foundation you can build anything on, from a family to a company. So we see it in our personal lives, but this idea is so much bigger than that. This pattern, this resilient reliance, it's woven into the very fabric of human history. You see it everywhere once you start looking. You hear it in politics, when a leader asks people to keep the faith in the system, even when it's messy. You see it with a farmer who plants seeds, relying on the sun and rain to show up, even though they might not. You can feel it in the soul of Curtis Mayfield's music, or see it in the writings of someone like David Brooks. But my favorite example has to be from sports. Michael Jordan, 1998 NBA Finals, he sinks that game-winning shot, and he turns to his coach Phil Jackson and just yells, "I had faith. I had faith." What was he talking about? He wasn't talking about some mystical belief. He was talking about relying on thousands of hours of practice, on his muscle memory, on his team, all under insane pressure. That right there, that's resilient reliance in its purest form. And that kind of high-stakes trust, it's not new, not at all. In fact, this idea is so old, so foundational to how societies work, that the ancient Romans were literally stamping it onto their money almost 2,000 years ago. Take a look at this coin. It's all about fides publica, public trust, public faith. And look at the symbols. The clasped hands, that's mutual faithfulness, that two-way street we talked about. And the other stuff, the poppy, the caduceus, that's all about the peace and prosperity you get when a whole society is built on that kind of rock-solid, resilient trust. Okay, so we've seen it in sports, in politics, even on Roman coins. Now let's turn to the place we most expect to find it, religion. And what's wild is that the ancient words for faith, whether you're talking about Greek pistis or Hebrew emunah, they aren't really about intellectual belief. They're about loyalty, reliability, and hanging in there when things get tough.
But here's where it gets really interesting, kind of paradoxical. The biggest heroes of faith in these traditions, they're not the ones who had it all figured out. They're the ones who wrestled, who questioned, who were absolutely riddled with doubt.
I mean, look at a guy like Abraham. He gets this huge, life-changing promise from God. And what does he do? He immediately starts hedging his bets. He brings a backup heir. He literally laughs when told he'll have a kid. He tries to take matters into his own hands. His story is a mess of doubt, but he's held up as this great example of faith. Why? Because through all the screw-ups and the doubt, he never completely stopped relying on that initial promise.
Or how about the story of the Canaanite woman? She comes to Jesus for help and he basically ignores her, then insults her. Most people would have just left, but she doesn't. She pushes back. She persists. She keeps relying on the idea that he can help. And what does he say? Woman, great is your faith. Her faith wasn't a feeling. It was a stubborn, tenacious, resilient action.
And this goes all the way to the top. Even Jesus is shown struggling with terror in the Garden of Gethsemane, crying out from the cross that he feels abandoned. So the ultimate picture of faith in Christianity isn't some calm, peaceful certainty. It's a picture of someone in absolute agony who still chooses to rely on God.
Okay, so we've gone from marriage counseling to the NBA Finals to ancient Rome and the Bible. Where does all of this leave us? What's the big takeaway here? It means we get to completely flip the script on faith and doubt. We have to stop thinking of them as enemies locked in a fight to the death. The new view, the resilient reliance view, sees them as dance partners. Doubt isn't the thing that destroys faith. Doubt is the very thing that calls for faith. It's the challenge, and faith is the response.
So in the end, faith isn't the destination, that calm, sunny harbor of certainty. It's the engine. It's the tough, reliable motor you build to power through the storm. It's not about avoiding the darkness or the difficulty. It's about the deeply human and incredibly powerful choice to keep relying on what you hold true, especially when it's hardest.
So I'll leave you with this. Just for a second, forget all the baggage that comes with the word faith, and just ask yourself this one simple question. In your own life, your job, your family, your dreams, where are you practicing resilient reliance?